Okay, the floor is yours, guys. Do you have enough mics? Okay.
Okay, test. Are we on? Okay, great. Oh, sorry, I don't really want to have my back to anybody, but. All right. Morning, everybody. I'm Jason Wiese, SVP, Head of Insights at V&B. Very excited to be moderating this panel on building a successful full funnel marketing strategy. We have a lot of ground to cover over the next 40 minutes, and we are going to take some audience questions about 30 minutes in. So we get right into it. I'm excited to be joined by three great panelists today, Michelle, Shayna, and Carly. And how y'all doing today?
Great.
Caffeinated.
All right, can you all briefly tell the audience your name, your role at your company, just a little bit of background too. So,
Happy to kick off. Hi everyone, I'm Michelle. I work for Unilever. We're a big holding company that has a lot of different brands. We do soup, soap, shampoo, from Ben & Jerry's to Axe, so really across the board. I look after beauty, so mostly hair care and skincare, and I look after the media measurement. So making sure that whatever we spend, we're doing it right and we're doing it the best we can.
Hi everyone, great to be here. My name is Shayna Macklin and I am Fractional CMO with Rainbow Shops, which is a fast fashion company. And I recently joined full-time Playboy as the Director of Social, Brand Strategy, Affiliate, and now I'm running music partnerships.
I'm Carly Schrager with Bluprintx. I've been living in the world of marketing automation pretty much since it started, way back when, and recently joined Bluprintx, where we're actually able to help clients with the entire MarTech stack. So get the full power of all the technology that you're paying for.
excellent, great. As you can see up here, we have a lot of different experiences, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of different perspectives come out during our next 40 minutes or so. So let's get the conversation started. I always like to begin panels with a very basic question to level set the conversation. So, Carly, I'm going to start with you. What do we mean when we say full funnel? What do we mean when we say full funnel strategies?
Sure, so full funnel really is referring to kind of the very beginning of your process of realizing that you have a problem that might require a solution and going through the process of trying to find what are the potential solutions out there, who can help me solve that problem, all the way through becoming a customer and remaining a customer with the brand. From a strategy perspective, it really hits on a few key topics. So how are you approaching bringing people into your funnel, keeping them in the funnel, and targeting the right people for the funnel. All the way, and using kind of analytics and reporting to make sure that you're focusing your efforts where you should be in bringing the right people in and keeping them.
Great. Shayna, Michelle, any other things you want to add on that?
Yeah, I think it also I think we've all heard this, that the funnel just doesn't really truly exist anymore and that it's broken depending on who your market is. So I think the way that we market to Gen Z is going to be different from how we're marketing to millennials and Gen X. Yeah, I love what you said about identifying the problem, but once you've identified the problem, then everything else changes, right? So I can go on forever about that, but I think, if you're marketing.
I do have a question on Gen Z later, so you can get more into that.
All right, I'm gonna hold on.
No, you can.
my
No,
answer.
go for it.
No, I think the funnel for millennial Gen X is everything that you just said. Then the funnel for Gen Z, really leans more into loyalty, experiential, the excitement around the brand and retention, right? Because as we know, I think millennials are more loyal to brands that they really, really like, as are Gen X and so forth. Gen Z is more about convenience, and so it's how do you build a funnel around convenience and excitement in the moment? They're just oh, that looks great, I'm gonna shop that. There could be no rhyme or reason. They might not even need your product in the moment. It just looks good to them and they wanna have it. So, I think when it comes to retargeting to Gen Z, we need to be a little more creative and think outside of the box.
Great.
I'll just add a little bit to that because I think, and maybe I should be saying this on the full funnel panel, but what is a funnel? Do we still have a funnel? Because the idea is you start at the top, you make your way down, and then you reach the bottom. Versus what we're seeing now is more this endless loop where you start somewhere, you go through the funnel stages, And at that point, your product becomes null and void. At that point, you get a new product. At that point, your product gets a revamp. So then you have to start all over again. So the idea of loyalty, retention, it works, but then it's endless. It's this endless retention,
So
it's this
true.
endless idea of people, they don't think about our products the way that we think about our products. We're thinking 24/7 about this little shampoo bottle, about this deodorant. For them, it's just something that's in their vanity, in their bathroom. So the idea that in our heads they're still thinking about our product just doesn't exist anymore. We need to remind them constantly, this is something that's better than the competitor, something that's better than the previous variant that you need to spend money on. So it becomes more this endless cycle that just never ends, instead of just a funnel, start from the top and make your way down to the bottom.
So to that point, when you think about the traditional funnel of awareness, consideration, intent, sales, and there's variations of the funnel too, and you know, you also go into the advocacy, like, is it still important? Are all those stages still important? Or has, and we're gonna get into this a little bit later, but no time like the present, but like, has digital truncated all that where it doesn't matter? And are you sacrificing the creation of brand loyalty and branding from that, if you're really truncating that? I'm just gonna go that.
I think
okay.
it is still important. I think it's just more fluid to the point of, sure, before when we talked about a funnel, it was very sort of finite, right? And a lot of people ended, okay, you made the purchase, it's all done, right? And that's not the end, as we've talked about. It turns into the full circle. But as long as you're willing to understand that it is fluid, that customer life cycle isn't gonna be the same last year as it is this year, but it's still very important to recognize, but this is where it is now, and what's happening, where are we losing people? If they're no longer going to a second purchase or a 10th purchase, why is that? It's important, again, to come back to kind of the analytics, to be aware as soon as that trend starts, and figure out what the why, and what can you change, and then, yes, has the environment changed, and do we need to change the way that we're looking at it?
And also, oh, sorry, go for it. No, and also too, I think looking at like the retention, like you were saying, like the data around how often they're shopping. So I know a lot of subscription businesses are like really going in for like subscribe and save right now. I think that's a really brilliant way to do it. Like I know so I'm a marketer, right? We're all marketers. It is hard as shit to sell to me. If you can sell to me, you are doing something right? Because I can just see through all of it. I'm like, that was a good attempt, but I'm good, thanks, next. But if you can sell to me, I will be loyal to your brand. So for me, like, I love subscription. I love to like subscribe and save, and I'm seeing a lot of Gen Z are kind of leaning into that, but also like to what you were saying in terms of like just marketing messaging in general, influencer marketing, right? People don't want to hear from brands. They don't want necessarily to hear from us. If they're Gen Z, they're looking to their peers, right? They're not necessarily coming to the website and doing more research. They just want to make sure that it's a cool product, again, depending on what the vertical is, that they feel like they're going to be missing out on something if they don't have that product. And then, again, they'll come back to you as long as you keep it, like you were saying, as long as you keep it fresh. Millennials, Gen X, like I'm an elder millennial, and I will do my research. Like I'll find out about it on TikTok and Instagram from an influencer, and then I might not even need that product. So I'm not even in any kind of funnel, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. It's that, oh, this brand looks really cool. I'm gonna go check them out. I don't need this product, but what's the price point? Like for me, $50 is my price point. As long as it's 50 or below and I think it's cool and I do a little more research, I'm gonna buy it. So I think too, like you have to understand what your consumer's price point, like barrier to purchases, and then also really hit in on that in all of your marketing.
And I think beyond that, you mentioned digital. I feel like digital gives us immediate feedback. With TV, we didn't know where they were in the funnel. With digital, we get so many signals, whether slow signals, fast signals, that really allow us to understand where are we in the idea of a funnel, where are we on the journey, how much do they understand about our brand, about our competitor brands as well. So it's also working together with the media partners that have very, very strong data, data sets, data signals, data setups, that then allow us to have a clear understanding of where we are and how do we also decrease wastage. Because there's so much wastage that is created because we're targeting the people at the wrong stage of their understanding, the wrong stage of maybe even the frequency. Maybe
Too much.
yeah, they get tired of our stuff. Like the amount of ads that I've seen 8 times, I get mad at that brand. Like I purposely, stubbornly say, oh, I will not buy that brand because they over targeted me.
Well, and one thing there's no shortage of is data, right? So the hard part is being able to analyze all of the data and being able to come to the correct conclusions, or at least another theory to test out. But at least if you're paying attention to the data, you're able to kind of take action and change.
Well, it's interesting, I was speaking to, a CMO from another brand, and I said to her, it was a wellness brand, and I was like, oh my God, to me, I was like, your marketing is really good, you guys are everywhere, I see you all the time, and she said, that's exactly our problem. We're too everywhere, we're in all the travel vlogger videos, we're on all the vlogs, it's too much, how do we create this, like, exclusivity feeling again, instead of like, we're just everywhere, you can get us.
Or then the expectation is that that's that type of brand. Like think of the Tarte sponsorship trips. I feel like now I don't think about Tarte without connecting it to that. So they need to continue with that exact same strategy, and it also makes them be stuck.
Or I just tune them out, and now I just don't think about Tarte at all. I'm like, I won't even consider them because they're just too everywhere. If you sell it, it's too much, and I'm not interested.
Sorry if there's Tarte in the room. But
Yes, sorry, we love you, but too much, take it down a notch.
So we're gonna go totally off the script now because it's been a great conversation to start with, but brought up a couple things that I was thinking about. So we all know overexposure, especially in digital and CTV, is a huge problem.
Yeah.
Right? We talk about it a lot in CTV in my world that I work in, but that's been a issue throughout digital for years, since the start, right? You hear the same commercial over and over and over and over again, especially when you're at a certain age group and they just magically find out what you should be hitting at a certain age group. Carly, in terms of automation and marketing technology, are there fixes for this, or how do we solve this?
It's about, so automation is great. It's kind of like when computers came out, and computers can do things faster and accurately, but you still need some human intelligence. Not that that won't change here in the next few years, but to kind of plug in the right information, right? And so the point of kind of monitoring what is working and what isn't working so that we're not kind of wasting efforts is really important. And I think there's a lot of B2C conversation happening here. In the B2B world, sometimes things are slightly different, perhaps move a little bit slower in terms of feedback, the feedback loop. And so in B2B, it is, sort of monitoring what's working and making sure to tune all of your efforts. I think it's made a big difference in the digital space.
Yeah. And Michelle, how do you try to rectify that situation of overexposure, if you can? And I know it's a challenge.
Yeah, I hate feeding into monopolies and feeding the beasts, but ecosystems. There's so many companies that just work in an ecosystem. Biggest example I think for media out there is Amazon at the moment. The fact that Amazon is not just Amazon.com media, but you also have IMDb, you have Freebie, you have Prime, you have Goodreads. Like imagine targeting ice cream on Goodreads, and then you can still buy it on Amazon Fresh. Like it's all this interconnected ecosystem that I think allows for perfect tracking, perfect sequencing. So first you target them there, then here, then here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of this closed environment. At the same time, you're ignoring a lot of what's out there. You're feeding into a monopoly that makes things a bit harder for new competitors to come in. But at the same time, that's where, as a marketeer, it makes it so much easier.
And there's so many different ways that you can buy something too. There's so many different entry points. When we were talking about, I grew up in the agency world and buying print and even TV, there was one way to buy ads, right? There's direct. And now you have so many different platforms, I can't remember the number, but I think it was like on the average CTV platform or network, there's at least 13 different ways to buy. So you have to make sure that those platforms are each other as well. So I know that's a challenge.
And then, sorry, just to that, the idea of total attribution. Because if you're in this closed environment, then you're only looking at the attribution from those media channels onto that sales platform. Versus somebody is looking it up on Amazon and then buying it at the Target. You can see people on their phones just checking out on Amazon and then buying it in the physical store. So there is this interconnected world, said, lazily speaking, the ecosystem really works, but at the same time, that's not the reality. That's not how people are shopping.
And before we move on, you mentioned the retention. And we all love talking about Gen Z, and millennials, the future. I like to always call adults 50 plus the forgotten demo. They're the ones with the money right now. They're 44% of the population in America, but nobody likes to talk about them. So I'm going to throw this out to everybody. Shayna, you gave great thoughts behind retention around Gen Z and young millennials and whatnot, but retention around 50 plus. I mean, one of the things that people always say, well, you're already brand loyal, they've got the brands. I mean, we've seen research that's not the case. So I'm going to throw that out for anybody who wants to
I
tackle
mean,
that.
that's the thing. We talk about retention as marketers, but do we actually focus on it? I'm honestly asking that question because from so many of the brands that I've worked at, almost all of them, they all focus on acquisition. But I'm like, great, we've acquired these amazing people, right? Now how are we gonna keep them? And they're like, oh, we gotta acquire. So I think exactly what you were saying, Jason, like, yes, it's Gen X, right? Like 50 plus Gen X. Like, yes, they're like loyal to a point, but if they don't feel that coming back from the brands, they are going to seek some, like a competitor that will show them loyalty and, support them in their purchases and support them throughout